Good afternoon, everybody. John Russell here with you. I am stuck at home today with Will Spottedbear. Good afternoon, Will. How you doing, buddy?
Good. How about yourself, my friend?
I'm hanging in there. It's Monday. I don't know about you. People talk about you lose track of the days and stuff, and I kind of do.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's easy to do when you don't really have anything going on. So.
Did you keep track of the days before? Because I only knew the shows I need. I know this sounds cliche, but I'm like, I know I need to be here on Friday. And then when my alarm went off, I'm like, I guess I got to start driving.
I guess it's Tuesday. Yeah. For me, the ups and downs of the staying at home business are based on, hey, there's Dan Bublitz. Good afternoon, Dan. Good to see you, my friend. Thanks for looking in.
Man.
The ups and downs are that I don't go out and do as much because some people know this. I'm actually, I'm close to the target. I got some of the underlying stuff. In fact, I can't even talk now. I have some of the underlying issues that would make me a good candidate for dying from the coronavirus.
Right.
But here's the thing. None of us know what it's going to be. So I try to err on the side of caution. Do I think we should have things going on? Yeah, maybe. Have I done some things maybe that I probably should have? Yeah, maybe. Nathan Ford, good to see you, my friend.
Dude,
thanks for looking in, buddy. Good to see you.
10 years.
But in general, I think we're all in uncharted waters.
Right.
So
it's tough. Yeah.
I was gonna ask. So, how have you been dealing with this? I know we talked a little bit off before we started,
right?
But how has this affected you and what you do on a regular basis?
Honestly, aside from the show stuff, it didn't affect my day-to-day life that much. I didn't realize how introverted I was, right? Like if I wasn't working, I just stay at home. When it started, all my shows kind of canceled in front of me because I was like, well, we're gonna wait a week, and then we're gonna wait 2 weeks, and then we're gonna wait a month, and then it's like, well, we'll see you in 2030. That started happening. My partner, she just finished. We're like on our last day of her school to be a doctor.
Oh wow!
And so that's the last couple months is helping her with that, but mostly moral. I don't have any answers for tests or anything like that. But I have an elbow. She can look at that if it helps. I don't know. But she was doing a clinical, and then she got taken out of it. And so what ended up happening? She ended up being home pretty early on. Like you remember, early middle March, where some of the it was they were real inconsistent on who was going home and who wasn't.
Right.
During that, she would come out because her clinical just it didn't make any sense. It just didn't make any sense. And so she'd been home, and then honestly we were we're planning on getting married in September.
Okay.
We had to push that back a year.
Oh wow.
Because our family, I live in Minneapolis, but I'm not from Minneapolis.
Right.
Most of our family's out of state. Most of my family's out of state. We wanted to bring the families together. Hold on one second.
Sure.
And 80% of our family was out of state. It's I don't want to risk Nona and Grandma and all that stuff for this crap.
Oh yeah.
So all of our plans, we were planning on moving into a house and spending some time together when she was done with school. And instead, it's just well, we got to spend time with each other now. And then we ended up moving into a nicer place. But that was such a weird sidestep through stuff. So mostly it was just trying to get all my life plans resituated because they just got jumbled up. Things that were going to happen fell through. All the shows got canceled. All the I think I lost out on 6 shows within that next month. So I lost upwards to $50-$60.
You work with the same bookers I do.
Yeah, exactly. I'm losing tens of dollars over here. So
here, let me catch up here.
please.
There's Cindy Strickland. She is watching us from Alabama. Good
Hi,
afternoon, Cindy. Nathan says, yes, it's been a minute.
Yeah, it is, man.
Dan says there are Zoom weddings now, and I've seen a couple of them, which is crazy. But I like you, I'd rather probably have another one. I'm going to get married again.
I don't like the idea that my family can unmute. Oh, Doug.
How about that?
I love that guy. He's a dude. He's a fantastic comic, also a great musician. We worked with him in Mitchell, South Dakota. It's fun.
No kidding. Where's he out?
He's good people. I think Florida, but I don't know Florida, Northern Florida, but Pacific.
The Panhandle.
Panhandle, something like that.
Panoramic.
Pasadena. I think it's Pasadena. If I'm wrong, Doug, I'm sorry. I remember it's Florida.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. So you say you got some shows that had canceled. Of course, everybody did. Do you remember the last show you did before you couldn't do any more shows?
I did. So like the thing is, I've been setting up shows for like, so I'm a big comic book nerd. So I had like a comic book show set up with Hot Comics in New Hope. Go there when it's opens back up. They're in New Hope in Richfield if you're local. I'm going to do a release week comic book show, and then I was going to do a native show with some Native American show with some of my friends at House of Comedy April 1st. All those fell through. So like I was really excited to see friends and stuff. The last show I did was in Excelsior. I believe it was Excelsior. It was like a brewery. It was a nice big thing. I opened for Ron Lamprick, and man, like the thing afterwards, that was weird because I haven't done like road shows in a couple months because I was setting up like veteran shows and other like specialty shows. The show went pretty well, and then afterwards, I made a joke and I got a heckler who made like a native joke, but it was pretty funny, so we like laughed it off. Then every person came up that was over 50 and then told me a racist Native American joke.
Oh my
God. Everyone, like really dumb ones, right? And the deal is, like I'm half Native, right? So my father and family's Native, my mom is white. The deal I have is the Native joke. You can tell me one if it's original and funny, and not one my mother has said, right? Like I feel like I should backtrack. My mom was very sweet and very loving and caring about helping me find that side of my life. It always felt weird for her because she couldn't be a part of it, but she was very welcoming and open. She didn't make any jokes. And then about 3-4 years ago, she just went, you know what? I think you're comfortable now. I think we're set. You get this. And then she just started doing jokes about my nativeness. And like it was cute because she's my mom, but it was like Def Jam Arizona 1994. It was old ass jokes. And I can't believe I'm telling this. My mom's gonna watch this and get mad at me. My mom was very, she loves natives at least once for sure. And so she started busting these jokes. So the role I have now, my mom is a very funny person, is not a comic. So if my mom made that native joke, and if you're thinking of a native joke that you kind of know, that's the one she told. You can't tell those jokes. And so all these people came up, they bought my merch and they would tell like some simple joke. And I'm like, oh, I haven't done these in a while. I don't have this thick skin for that kind of dumb. You know what I mean? Like when you do like an out of town show, a lot of people that try to be funny, but they don't know how to set up the joke, so it just comes off weird. I mean, we all did it. We do it personally.
Sure.
So that was my thing. I'm like, man, I need to get another show to get this out of my head, that taste. And then, yeah. And don't tell nobody about that, Doug. But so I was like, oh, the next show I'll get that. We won't have any of that stuff. And then the last show that I got to do pre-quarantine was that.
Oh my!
It was a great show though. It was fun. People were there. They were like hugging and kissing, coughing on each other. We should have been paying attention, I think.
It's perfect. They got sick.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of those shows that were right on the cusp, because my last one was on the 13th of March. And it was like, yeah, well, there's something going on, but we're still going to do this. And
right.
And mine was down on the border of Minnesota and Iowa for basically it was a fundraiser for a city centennial celebration or whatever it was. But they were packed in there, and it certainly would not have happened that way 2 weeks later.
Right. Well, and like yeah, there was a couple weeks when like the open mics were up, And people are like, you going to the open mic? And I'm like, I don't know. Like it's a weird thing, right? Like how much, because like, yeah, you can't. One, I don't trust a comic for self-preservation at all.
No.
Like we are terrible with it. It's like this has been my first year of like starting to value my life. So it's like I used to drive through like 3 blizzards to go to a show that paid less than the snow. And then like this year I was like, maybe I shouldn't drive my feature through a blizzard. And then my spouse like, why? And I go, well, I don't want him to get hurt. She goes, you're in the car with him. I said, yeah, but I'd be fine.
You get to hold on to the steering wheel.
Yeah, like once you're in control, then it's my fault. I need a hug.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, how are you liking? Oh, God, sorry.
Oh no, go! You please go ahead.
I was going to say how since we switched because like the audience thing isn't as much of a thing right now. How are you dealing with this stuff? Because you seem in your element, dude. You are killing it.
I'm honest with you, man. I'm really, really fortunate. Thanks for looking in, Doug. We appreciate it very, very much.
Listen, Doug Carney, follow him. He's a great guy, funny dude.
For me, I'm lucky because I have radio experience. I have been using this platform for long before this ever happened. So I mean, it kind of fell in my lap, and I enjoy. And the fact is, I enjoy talking with people. And it's more fun for me when it's people like you that I know. And I've mentioned this with several different comedians, right? When your friends become successful, you don't see them as much.
Right.
And that's a good thing. So this has been really fun for me to kind of reconnect and see what's going on with a lot of people that I really, frankly, haven't been able to see or work with or be around.
That's a weird thing with comedy. Like, there's people that I love, like brothers and sisters, like family, that I've probably seen in person 5 times.
Yeah.
Like it's a weird bond. Like I had Dave Landau was like Dave Landau and Martin Butler were the first guys to give me a guest spot. For those who don't know, it's like it's just a kindness thing. You know what I mean? Like you guys want to do time. But if you're new, that's a big deal. And for me, it was a big deal. And I met him like one other time. We hung out the whole week. I was emceeing for him, and we were just great, bonded. We clicked on the fact we both love the movie Monster Squad, which is also awesome. I didn't see him for like probably 6-7 years. Like at the time, I had like short hair, no beard. I was still working at what I was doing before this, and I ran into him because he was at a club in Minnesota, and I just walked in. And I'm like, "Hey, what's up?" He goes, you got a ponytail. Cool. How you been? And then we just go right back to it, dude. Right back.
That is awesome. Yeah. It's an awesome story.
Yeah.
But that's how it works, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really is. It's very cool. I'm gonna pop up a couple here we missed. Andy Fisher says, surprised that people trust their features to drive. Well,
we don't.
I don't. Andy, I've taken Andy with me. Andy has never driven and probably never will. I went with Randy and Carlo on a trail run. Randy did not touch the steering wheel the whole time. 5,000 miles. He didn't touch the steering wheel. That's just the way it is.
You get one or the other. I had some people that would take me just because I was willing to drive.
Yeah.
And then the other people like, you're never touching the steering wheel. This car could be on fire. Like, you know what I mean? Just don't touch it. Just accept the heat.
Exactly. So when I first met you, was up in Fargo.
Yes.
And but I also know, Randy and Carlo is awesome. I know he's around. I've been trying to get him to come on and do this with me too, but he's apparently still working during all of this, which a lot of people are, a lot of people really are. And Jenny's Day, the feature drove.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'm showing my age a bit because I was at the last cusp of that. Yeah.
it's I'll tell you, Bill Bauer never let a feature drive.
Oh yeah.
He'd let the feature park the car, but he wouldn't let him drive. You pull right up to the hotel and say, "Go park this over there."
That's the best way to say my age, because he was the first booker I talked to.
Yeah. Well, I remember that because you and I talked about it.
Yeah, I called him up and he's like, Bill Byer, and like he had that real distinct voice. And every time, so I'm like 25, 26, I just got out of like the military. So my speaking voice, like I didn't learn to like inflect
Yeah.
and stuff, you know what I mean? I'm like, hi, how's it going? Da, da. So I must have sounded like a robot to him. And every time we talked, I would say something dumb. Like just something silly, something young, something like about comedy, not getting it, right? Should I do the whole 30 minutes? Something stupid. And he'd always go like, you hear him pause, like he's a man who's done this for a while and I'm a child. He just goes, well, okay, I'll talk to you later. Just every time I'm like, there's no way I can win with this.
This is the truth. This is the truth. He would. My favorite story about Bill driving was, and I think I've mentioned this on here before, but in order to do the club down in La Crosse for Doug and Danny, you had to go out and do Dickinson. And that just was, I mean, it's like, why? But that was the deal. You had to go do Dickinson in order to do La Crosse. Yeah. And so Bill says, get over to my house at 6:00 and we'll drive out there. And so we get up and we started driving. And he stops in St. Cloud, gets his coffee. And then we just keep driving. And we're getting out towards, Bismarck. And he's starting to get tired because he's starting to, how when you get a little tired and lose it and you swerve. I'm like, Bill, are you getting tired? Do we need to pull over? I'm happy to drive if you want me to. He says, nah, I just think I need to pull over and get a hamburger. A hamburger? That's going to put you to sleep more. But that was Bill. That was Bill. Yeah. Jenny has feature arm cancer. Cancer on the window side. I like that. Yes, Nathan, we miss you too, buddy. Yeah. I hope you're doing well. You're in Boise now, aren't you, Nathan? I believe the last time I see him doing stuff in Boise.
I'm legit concerned too. Yeah, I'm Nate. You doing good, buddy?
Yeah.
This is the weirdest thing about this life because, like, I've never. Not that I didn't care. I didn't know tons about people's personal life.
Yeah.
Outside of comedy, right? I'm East Coast. I'm from Pittsburgh. I don't ask it like during the wedding thing. They're like, hey, what's your best friend? Yes, my best friend. Love him. When's the last time you talked? 2000 and sometime. Goes, what's his last name? How should I know? What am I gonna need to know his last name for? What are we going to cops? Get out of here. What does he do for work? You got me. I don't know. He seems pretty strong. And so with comics, it's the same thing where it's like, oh yeah, I see him at shows. Boise, Idaho.
Exactly.
And a dream. Yeah. So it's fun seeing someone because because I know you did radio because we talked about that.
Yeah.
Personally, a long time ago.
Yeah.
With people now where they're like, well, yeah, my job is an accountant. I'm like, you're an accountant, dude? Like, I've seen you get really drunk on a Wednesday. You're an accountant? Okay, cool. Whatever.
Dude, that was the funny part about radio, too, is because like all these people that are now highly respected newscaster. I'm like, I seen you throw up in your shoes. Don't take it for what it's worth.
Right. We all grow up, I guess.
Yeah, everybody's got that day and friends. What are those?
Someday you'll find out, buddy.
Right. Your mom, just tell your mom she's got to up the ante a little bit. Send a little bit higher, check them out. Anyway, so you mentioned growing up in Pittsburgh. So what I'm interested in finding out is, first of all, how did you end up in Fargo? And go ahead with that because I can tell you got a good answer.
I went into the military to leave Pittsburgh because Iraq had better options than my neighborhood. And then I got stationed in Minot my last year.
Oh,
because I made sergeant and my commander didn't find me like uberly funny. So I got there. And then my grandmother, Will Spottedbear, lived in South Dakota, at Eagle Butte, which is Pine Ridge, Pine River. We're in the news. Keep the fight alive. Fuck that governor. Sorry for cursing, but sincerely. And I wanted to get to know her better. And I didn't like Minot, and I didn't really like South Dakota, and I knew some people in Fargo. So I moved there and then started. You're welcome, Aaron. Miss you, buddy. There, and then I would just go there and visit. And then I just kind of set up a life there.
Gotcha.
It was nice. I was there like 6 years.
Yeah. Fargo's a great place. I lived there for almost 10.
Yeah.
And
well, you came to my mic. I got a second. I lived there for almost 10.
Yeah. Yeah, because I was in Fargo for 10 years and still had friends up there, and I mean, it's really way more progressive a city than most people give it credit for.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting how cities does the states work.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a good story here, Nathan. Yes, you stayed at my house for the weekend. You were emceeing at Goonies, and I drove you to La Crosse. That's right. That is
That's
correct. And
funny.
you did pay me with pocket change.
Yeah, I forget about that. I forget about the days drives thing because it's been a while now.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've done the drive 12 hours to do a show in a place that's terrifying, to drive 8 hours to do a show that's also terrifying, to drive 13 hours, and then like you start here, you end here, and then you're like, well, just go home. So you just kind of like drive 20
You did
like 20
triple
hour
runs,
bit.
right? You did
Oh
a
yeah,
triple run.
yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a road comic, and they said Tribble was like the place you make your bones, so I did it. Tribble, I for what the shows weren't that like people make
They
them
weren't
worse
that
than they
bad.
seem. Yeah, like
They-
it's more of a what's the word? Not necessarily a trial by fire, but it's like it's better to make it sound scarier than it is, right? Because
well, the reality is that for me, when I did those, and I only did those, I did one. I did it with Randy, as I mentioned, and um, it's just the amount of driving. You don't get prepared for that.
right.
And and so my thought was, well, we'll do the shows and then we'll sleep and then we'll get up and send out emails and do whatever we need to do at the coffee
Yeah.
shop, and then we'll go to the next one. So no, and I think the closest one in our routing was like 11 and a half hours
Yeah.
between
Yeah.
shows, and it's like, you got to be shitting me.
There's one thing, and I get why he does this, but I have a thing where it's like you need to be there by 3 p.m. And but I get that with comics because it's like, hey, the show's at 8, so get there at 7, which means we're showing up at 7:59,
Yeah.
right? That's true. But like get there at 3. I'm like, it's a 12-hour drive. I'm not waking up at the show ended at 11. I'm not sleep.
I know.
Yeah, but it's what I wanted. I wanted to be like a road guy, and
Oh, yeah.
I did that for a while, and it was for what it was great. I enjoyed it. It's interesting meeting those people because like a lot of the cats that did it had like a sincere career,
Oh, yeah.
and then they just quit it to do comedy because it was just fun.
Yeah.
And then
So other than the fact that you're naturally funny, what possessed you to start doing stand up?
Well, I used to be very shy as a kid,
Okay.
and like I was always sarcastic, which did not go well where I'm from. And then I learned just to be aggressively shy because if I was nervous and was worried I was going to say the wrong thing, so was everybody. And then I just started saying whatever I would want, like something weird. I just started a conversation being weird. And then when I went in the military, you get posted with someone. I was doing security forces, so like I would be in a truck or a vehicle with like a group of people. So you just tell life stories, and like my stories are all kind of like rougher and weirder. So I just started being able to tell them funnier and funnier, and that's what happened. And then I just got real good at doing that and being the zany guy and having fun. It was like my way to blow off steam. And then everybody told me that I should be a comic. And the way I've kind of lived my life is if 3 people that are not connected to other people tell me I should do something, I try it, right? Which has it's been an interesting thing. I've tried things I wouldn't have tried. Like I tried an acting school, I tried painting. And like, so I tried comedy, and I really enjoyed it. It was like nerve-wracking. I really enjoyed it. And I knew I would have to do it a couple times. Like if I was just a guy, because I met like a couple people that like, I did stand up once, but they literally mean once.
Yeah.
And I'm like, because that's the thing when you meet people who like say they did comedy, it's like, I don't know, it's like someone who says they played basketball. Like they it's like you could mean the NBA, but you could also mean
In
like
the
Pee
front
Wee
yard.
basketball. Yeah. It's like, so I tried it a couple times. First time I did great, or better than I expected, because I expected a bomb. The second time was the worst experience of my life. I bombed so hard. Like like so hard. And just like here's the energy, here's me, and then here's the energy. What's up, Mike? Good to see you, brother. It was the worst experience of my life. It hurt so thoroughly. Like it was like someone's put a spike through every part of me. And then after that, I just kept going. And then I started liking it more and more. But it took me a while to like catch my feet because like I was good at talking to people and being charming, but on stage it was different. And so like it took me a long time to find that.
Yeah.
Because I'd have like a show. I would talk to everybody, like an open mic. And I talk to everybody, and we're having a great time. I go on stage and I bomb. And then I come back out and start joking with people. And you see people being like confused. Like, it's like, you're funny here. What happened? like that's insane.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's crazy how that works. So give me a little bit of insight, because in reality, Fargo is an odd spot in terms of a comedy scene. Courtney's was there when I lived there.
Right.
And there was this kind of up and down with Courtney's, but really you and JD and Adam all kind of built that scene together.
Right. Yeah. I think a lot of people in 2008, I don't know what was going on before then, but it seemed like there was like a downturn where nobody was doing it much. And so like a bunch of cities, like, cause like I would travel around, I would go back to Pittsburgh, I go to New Mexico, and around the same time, everyone was setting up like these comedy scenes. And we just kind of like started doing it. I started a poetry mic and then started building up from there and then just going, you know what I mean? But yeah, it was interesting. It's weird. I mean, I don't have a point of reference because it's what I did. I think you started like in Rochester where like you had one club, but like there wasn't a scene. So you had to cultivate your scene. And then like when you go to a city, it's weird because like, you know, like when you do like small town stuff, you have more time, you have more place, there's not like a voice. Like every city has kind of a voice. Like you can normally tell what city a comic's from by how they sell their premise, right? Or they'll have like a catchphrase, or they'll do like a thing. There's always something. They talk like this or something like that.
Exactly.
And in the small town one, there wasn't enough people to set a precedent. So everyone was like real every which way with it.
Genuine. Yeah. I remember going to your mic at the Red Raven, and I remember some of my friends coming, and in particular one who I don't think is watching at this point, but you know, there's nothing more fun than having your friends who you haven't seen in a while come to a show and then heckle you unmercilessly. And to be honest, it has happened more than once with several people. I was in the Iowa Comedy Festival, the first one, and they did 3 of them. So that lets you know how good comedy is down there. I'm kidding. People from Iowa know. But the reality is I had my friend's wife, I was the best man at their wedding, heckled me at the festival.
Yeah. No, the one that always got me it wasn't like my friends heckled. They would just look at me with love and concern and caring, and it would always mess me up. Or because like on stage, I'm kind of like, I don't know, not necessarily aggressive, but I stand up there, I'm like unforgiving, I start talking. And there was one time I was talking to a friend's girlfriend at the time, and she said something, and I'm like, hey, you know, keep it down. And because I knew who she was, but no one else did, I didn't want to make it sound like I had a plan. So I was like, what's your name? She goes, you know my name, Will. Stop it. And I'm like, yeah, okay. This is weird now. or like my mom would come to a show, and I was in Pittsburgh, and she would laugh and like, or she just go like, that's not really how it happened. And it was just I did a show for my mom. My mom does a lot of nonprofit stuff. She's big in the helping people sector.
Mm-hmm.
And I did a show to fundraise for her. This is like 2 years ago, maybe a year. And everybody I knew when I was a kid. Some people I didn't see since I left the military or left for the military. Yeah. So I'm talking like 16 years old. I'm doing this show, and I'm just looking out in the audience. Like you know, like I always have a dream that like when I die, I'll just be at a show. Like I'll
Hmm.
like be opening a show, and then everyone in the audience will be people I care about. You know what I mean? You ever have like that kind of dream?
Yeah.
And this was that dream. It was fucking terrifying. I'm like, I'm dead. I died. Died. I'm dead. It was so weird. So weird.
Oh my gosh. So
But
let's go ahead.
oh,
I don't want to interrupt you.
no. It's just yeah, it's interesting that like I never like doing shows. I mean, I love doing shows, but I'd rather do shows around strangers than friends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'd rather have my friends sit in the back than up front. It always
Abs-
weirds me out. You know?
absolutely. Absolutely. So I was going to ask you a little bit too about now you've traveled extensively with native comedy tours and done a
Mhm.
lot with those guys. Is that a different style of performing, or you're just basically doing your same stuff?
Kind of. Um, there is a different vibe, but again, every culture has its own different style of doing it, right? Like a lot of it's more like I don't say storytelling style, but like
Hmm.
like it's a narrative
Gotcha.
normally. And the only thing for me that I switch up because I'm pretty narrative driven if I'm doing like a longer show. Um, the way it works is I'm doing like a show for like a mostly white audience. I have to explain to them some of the stuff about native culture, and then if I'm doing a native show, I sometimes have to explain about white culture.
Okay.
So basically, it's the same jokes, but certain parts I have to like. You know, like if you did a show for like truckers, you don't have to explain trucker references.
Right.
But if you don't do a show for truckers, you have to explain trucker references. I just have to learn what my references are.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And you've actually would you say that doing those native tours have you done more of those than you have? I don't know how to say this without
Mainstream
sounding.
stuff. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. No, but most of my first introductions to people were native shows. But
Okay.
I'm not that I'm not that native because
Yeah.
it's like being it's like you could be German, but if you're German American, in America you're German, but if you go to Germany, you're going to be American,
Right.
right? So like I'm not a native comic so much as I'm just a multi-ethnic
Gotcha.
person that's
Gotcha.
comedy.
Gotcha.
Um, so a lot of people would put me on thinking I can only do native stuff for some reason. But I've
Which
done
is
more.
ridiculous.
At this point, I've done more mainstream stuff. I would say.
Yeah.
Like there's such a small community with that. Like old comedy. There's
Yeah.
like Adrian Chaplin. She's a really great comic, and like Mark Yaffe is another great one. There's a bunch of
Yeah.
good real comics.
Got to
Casey
work with
Nicholson
Mark. He's fantastic.
and um, so like yeah, they're doing that, and we've been getting more play mainstream, which has been nice.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. But it's like any other culture stuff. Like there's
Of
some
course.
jokes I have that are like real specific, that are like native funny, just like some things are like Minnesota funny.
Gotcha. Gotcha. There's my mother checking in. Mom, I hope you haven't missed the first half was stellar,
Yeah, Miss
absolutely
Russell.
stellar. Good to see you. More of a nerd than anything.
That is true. That is true. I got a lot of I got a lot of brands that are not marketable. I
I think we
did yeah,
all do.
no, I came out as a nerd a couple of years ago. And so like I always been one, but like I was dressing up like the Fonz for a long time and focused on that side. And then I've always been a big comic book nerd. Like I know every Green Lantern of Sector 2810. You know what I mean? Like calm down, ladies, I'm taken. But like that's the thing I have. Um, yeah, it's just interesting because it's one of those things with like doing native comedy is that like it's fun. I enjoy it personally because I get to see people from that world more. So I enjoy
Mhm.
it. It's a different feeling being a part of that group than say a mainstream show. It
Gotcha.
seems more important. It seems more deep.
Gotcha.
But I love doing shows.
Have you found, because you told me you were setting up some shows at comic book
Yeah.
stores, etc. Have you found those to be as lucrative as say a club show? But now, and I know you shook your head, but you don't have to travel as far.
Yeah, it's about the thing is with this stuff, it's like, and this is the thing with comedy for the most part, it's like most of it if you're trying to chase money, this ain't really the job, right? Like sometimes we'll make $1 million, but it's after like 20 years. Like if you like Ronnie Dangerfield made a lot of money, but he also did this for 50 years. Like he just got back paid in a lump sum.
Right.
And so like that's the thing. I enjoy the shows. And like there might be a thing where like there's like comics that are like specific for niches that you can do. Like if you're a real good alt comic, if you're a real good one-liner, there's like every place has a market.
Mm-hmm.
I am not super concerned with getting rich. It's never been my main thing. Just didn't think I was going to, and I don't want to wear polos that much. So
yeah.
So doing the show is fun. It's different because again, it's like you can shorthand some stuff.
Yeah.
Because like, I love comic book stuff. I have like a lot of real deep comic book references. I took the best way I can explain it was like a bunch of years ago. I was dating this very nice young lady, and she knew I liked comic books, but she didn't know to the extent that I liked comic books because I hid it. So she took me to the comic book store to buy me a comic, which was very sweet. But that's kind of like giving just like a little bit of cocaine to a massive drug addict. I'm like, why am I doing a key bump of comics? I want a whole bag. And so we go in there, and I'm like, cool. I'm gonna play it cool, act like I don't know everybody here, buy one comic, and then come back later. That like I already planned to blow her off later in the evening just to go back there. And I ran into two guys, right? And two friends, they're both nerds, like real, standard typical. And we started talking about there was a DC crossover event called Infinite Crisis, which was part of a sequel to Crisis of the Infinite Earths. You don't know what I'm talking about? That's this exactly. So in it, we discussed the importance of Superman from Earth 2 as opposed to Earth X, with no context, and how Nightwing from Earth 1 is better than Robin of Earth 2. And I got into this like 3-4 minutes in, and I'm like this deep into it. I look over and I see her just like processing that. Like I could tell like she was debating why she was sleeping with me. Basically, she's like, like because again, this is full tilt. I mean, and so I just look and I go, well, I kind of ruined it. I might as well finish this conversation. We go into it deep. We pull out a couple theories. I called one, and then we left. I bought two comics because what's the difference now? And then we're driving, and she's just sitting there real quiet. And I go, "I'm sorry you had to see that. Are you still going to date me?" And I swear to God, she just goes, "Yeah."
Oh my God, that's beautiful.
Now it has shifted where more people know mainstream comic book stuff, so I can hide out better. But like, yeah, so it's that, and like, so, but it's you only talk about that stuff when you're with your friends. So doing that kind of show is that type of stuff, and then like,
and I was going to say that type of show, as you mentioned, it may not be the one that's going to make you rich, but it also helps you build your audience with people that feel a real, honest connection with you.
Right. And I mean, also the one thing about this pandemic has been kind of interesting is you can tell which people have money and which people don't. Like even among famous people, like we're talking about how like you're famous for a lot longer before than when you're rich. Like you become rich a little later in that, right? And so yeah, it's like you build your audience, you set up the stuff you want to set up, right? And again, like to be in a comic book, it's kind of like being comedy famous, frankly. Like the thing that's helped me kind of calm down about worrying about getting famous in comedy is my mom and my little sister. They both love me. I'm not one of their favorite comics. They do not like my jokes at all, unless it's about them. But my most respected and favorite comics, they've never heard of, right? To be actually like famous, like the kind of famous that my mom would know who you are, is not most of us.
Right.
And so it's like being famous in like Larry the Cable Guy, right? Like he's a great example because everyone, in a certain age range knows who he is. But if he wore a sleeve, no one would recognize him.
Right.
Louis Anderson, my mom kind of knows who he is, my mom like likes him. I don't know how she would act if she met him. Like she'd be like, she's excited I met Louis Anderson, but like Chad Daniels, who for my money is one of the best comics.
Yep.
Just yeah, she doesn't know who he is until the Amazon thing, the Dad Daniels thing.
Absolutely.
So it's like that kind of made me humble. Is that like even if I'm like famous by comic standards, it still doesn't. You know what I mean? Like I knew Rodney Dangerfield because of Rover Dangerfield, the cartoon movie where he played a dog that didn't get any respect. I didn't know he did stand up until 30 years. I was like 17. I was like, holy crap, the dude that was like the devil in Married with Children special guest star is funny. Like I didn't know. Mr. Miyagi was a comic. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I did a show recently called Comedy Through the Chaos with Miss Shannon and Paul.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And it was shot like this, but it was shot like in a studio.
Right.
And so it was like a Zoom show, but it was like a production level Zoom show. And it was nice because I got to talk about very specific real stuff, which is more fun, right? Because like, yeah, it was a better thing. It's a great show, and it was a great show. It's a great show, and yeah, you get to find different people with different things. And like the dream I have with comedy is to be understood and to relate, right?
Yeah.
And like if I do a thing and like somebody 10 years from now goes, I really related to that, I would love to do that. That's not going to pay a bill,
right?
But that's going to be the goal. Like I don't expect to live forever, but if you can make a ripple, it's amazing.
Absolutely. And by the way, that Comedy Through the Chaos show was it looked fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, it really did.
Phenomenal.
And in fact, I got Tiffany Norton was on that show with you, right?
Yeah.
I've got Tiffany coming up with me tomorrow at 1:00, so that'll be fantastic. Yeah. And then yet here's another one of your examples in terms of people that are comedy famous. And not a lot of comedians know the guy that I'm going to have on with me on Wednesday. Willie Farrell is his name. He's out of Des Moines, Iowa. He's been on HBO multiple times.
Right.
He was, I mean, the godfather of comedy is what he was known as. And not a lot of people, not a lot of people know him. And they hear his name and they think, oh, well, the guy that was on Saturday Night Live, Will Ferrell. No, it's not. So it's just, and my other relatable story to that, couple of months after Tim Harmston was on Letterman, I picked him up and we went and did a show in Manitowoc Waters, Wisconsin. And I said, oh my God, nobody's going to believe I got a guy that was on David Letterman sat in this car. And he says, yeah, and I still made $13,000 last year.
Yeah.
That's, and that's,
that's just how it is. My so because I got to the age where like I kind of set up a life outside of the first couple of years you're doing comedy, it's basically your life. Like you're just living in this little bubble, and if you're not in that bubble, you can't really sustain it, right?
Right.
So I've gone to a point now where I've had enough of it as a job where I can have like days off, and so my spouse she didn't meet me through comedy. We met at the VA actually. She was volunteering, and like I took her to a show sparsely. Like I didn't bring her to an open mic because why bring someone through pain? But like I took her to a show and I introduced her to all the comics and da-da-da. And like, the nice thing is I get to walk in and talk to these people that are very, very professional, very funny. Tim Harmston was one of them.
Yep.
And Mary Mack. And both hilarious. She's on Solar Opposites.
Yeah.
So we all hang out, we talked before the show. And then at the end of it, like during the show, we sat down and then they read the credits of what they have. And girls like, oh wow, those are real credits. I'm like, yeah, no, we're real comics. That's what this is, right? That's how this goes. I was talking to a comic because it's his story. I don't want to tell his name, but I was talking about how I did this big show. I was doing this TV thing. I did First Nation Comedy Experience on Amazon, right? And so I said, my mom does not care. She's not impressed with this at all. Did I lose you?
Nope.
Okay.
We might be having a little bit of a glitch, but don't worry about it. Keep going.
So he goes, you know what? My parents, he did like 4 Comedy Central specials. And he goes, my parents just think you get that. He's like, no one knows any better. They just assume you get that.
Oh,
and,
did you sign up for another one?
Yeah, it's like when I made sergeant in the military. I did it in 3 years, right, which was really good for the Air Force. And my mom goes, "Oh, I thought you already just got that." I said, "No, Mom, I didn't." And then I'm like, "I got the First Nation comedy experience." She goes, "Yeah, but cool. I mean, if I got time, I'll watch it." I'm like, "Word, okay." Like it's okay, because it's just what it is. I mean, she's proud of me, she's happy, but she gets happy about the weirder stuff. She's like, "You're doing a show in like No One Cares, Minnesota for 12 people? Exciting, huh?" Like, I'm in Vegas. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, yeah, people been to Vegas, whatever.
It happens. All right, let's catch up on some comments. Isaac Woody says, when he was on Letterman, he slept on the mattress near the laundry room in the Comedy House in Minneapolis. Yep. Bob,
yeah,
absolutely. Right. Let's see here. There was another one. Jenny has a good question for you. How did you turn your journey as self-influence, your work as a comic?
You mean like I assume you mean experience?
I would guess.
I mean, all my stuff is pretty experience based. The thing was, when I started comedy, I was learning about my grandmother and stuff, and learn about that side of my family because I didn't know about this whole side. So the nice thing with comedy is how, for me, is basically any set I have is almost like a timestamp of when I was going through that. And the nice thing about writing new stuff, about self-autobiographical stuff, is that I can write about how I am in real time.
Yeah.
And yeah, just the growing up part, I guess, right? Because like the military me is very different than the native, not very different, but like it's a different angle. So it's interesting because like things I didn't understand when I was 25, I understand at 30. The things I understand at 35, I understand a lot more than when I was 30.
Gotcha.
Right. And like if you can be honest about that stuff, that's nice.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know. I've been pretty good about, except for core values, not being stuck with the same stupid for very long.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Pretty adaptable
mistakes.
And easy to grow.
Yeah. Yeah. Miss Jen.
She hasn't seen your comedy in a while.
All it is like getting married stuff now. It's really dumb. I got glasses. I'm old.
There you go. I got to pop this up. Aaron Isaac's mom, Ida. I am very generous to other comics. You don't know the half of it, Ida.
Oh, yeah. She's sweet. I love it.
No, I'm fortunate that these folks will come on and talk with me for this amount of time, Ida, and I enjoy this right now more than anything else that I'm doing. So it's I'm not being generous. I am enjoying this. This is more for me than it is for them. So
if it helps, I'm loving this, man. I miss talking to you for real. Like it's,
dude, it's
without getting all mushy, you know.
I know, and we're not going to do that because now I'm going to ask you a couple of questions I ask everybody.
Okay. Let's get real.
And oh my gosh. So folks, I am in the process of making a best of, and some of these answers I'm going to put together, and one of them is going to be best of hell gigs. So Will, right now, I'd like you to relate to me your most favorite memory of the worst hell gig you ever had.
All right. I was a young feature for Scott Shields. He did Just Another Hangover tour. He'd go through the upper Midwest. We did a show in Center, North Dakota, which if you've never been, I get it. It's between Minot and Bismarck. It's basically a town, but it's like 4 blocks, like 4 actual blocks. It's like dirt, 3 bars, 1 church, dirt.
I've driven by it.
Yeah. And so we go and do the show, and it's It's okay. I'm in college, so like a lot of people assume like you're gonna party afterwards. I normally just go home and write papers. And we're staying at this guy's house, like a band house. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like he's like, we normally bring musicians here. They stay at this house. They just had an extra house. The place was so dilapidated. Like I grew up some of my life in projects, and this place was dilapidated. Like there was a mattress that had sheets that were duct taped on, and there was like a bloody sock, like bloody, but like a sock with enough blood on it to know that, like, not a murder, but like, like a scabby, a little scurvy was like tucked underneath it, but not well. And like everything smelled. And the guy who was in the guy who was owning the house, he looked like Colonel Sanders, like 60-year-old guy, and he starts playing guitar, and Scott's kind of decent guitar, still playing. He goes, well, you guys want to do some marijuana? And I go, well, I don't drink or do drugs. And he goes, cool. So, how about some mushrooms? I don't drink. And like, he just kept, like, it was, what I mean? It's like, how about a kiss? Okay. How about an orgy? Like, he just went so much harder. And at one point I think he said mescaline. I'm like, dude, I'm going to bed. So I went to bed. So the room was like a weird thing where it had like, like those creepy old houses, they have that little dollhouse doorway. I don't know what it's for, like a little closet or something, but it always looked like a haunted movie thing. So they had that. I slept with my backpack and everything I could stab somebody with on me, a hoodie over me, shoes on, and just went to sleep like this. Woke up, just lifted my whole body up in like I was a vampire. I'm like, we need to get right the hell out of here. The show later on, different show. We're driving. We're doing a biker bar in somewhere, and this guy comes up to me, a biker, nice guy. He comes up to me and goes, "Hey, you did really good." He gives me a crushed up cigarette pack, and in the crushed up cigarette pack, there's mushrooms.
Uh,
And I go, "Well, that's really sweet, right?" It's like when a cat gives you a dead bird. Like in his world, he's being very polite. So I take them. I say thank you. And he goes, I go to my headliner. I'm like, I don't want to throw them away because that seems wasteful. Like I'm still cool. And I go, do you want these? And he goes, why don't you take them? We're just in a biker bar in Minnesota. I'm like, yeah, we're in a biker bar in Minnesota. I'm not trying to like reach the fourth dimension with 1%ers. This is not like, I want to keep my wits about me. The amount of weird shows I did when I was young, it's just insane to me. Where it's like, why not just get stabbed?
oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. It's perfect. Any comic can relate to some of those things.
Oh, yeah.
Some, and here's the thing. I never, ever was comfortable taking anything from anybody that I didn't know.
Right.
And
right.
I'm talking about somebody that could, hey, let me get you a beer. And they come and it's open. I'm like, awesome. And I put it down and that's it. I'm not touching it.
Right. It's weird when audience members, like, they think you're that kind of cool. Like I've had that happen where I'm like, I think they tried to drug me. And not like I mean, I don't want to know their intentions. It's not a good intention for it. But it's like, I'm like, I think they're trying to be, like, at best, they're trying to be funny. You know what I mean? Like, hey, isn't this funny to, possibly kill this guy? It's weird. I don't know. I think that might have changed in the last couple of years. I don't think I've been in as much danger of getting dosed. But that's when you get dosed. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Always keep a head on a swivel.
You got to pay attention.
Yeah, but it's interesting. It's interesting how that works. Or even with comics, they're like, you want to try weed? No, thank you. How about heroin? You need to calm down. Like, you need to chill, brother.
Let's go get some pie.
Yeah. I'm a fat comic, right? Like, if we get cookie dough, I'll eat cookie dough. I'm not trying to drink.
I mean, and that's risky.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, I always think to myself, well, it's like I think, oh my gosh, knowing me is like, if I die on the road, it's not going to be because I was drinking. It's not going to be because I was taking drugs. It's because I choked on a pizza.
Right.
And it's like, oh, it's a terrible story.
And to be fair, it's any young comics, like the benefits greatly outweigh the negatives if that's what you want to do, right? Like I enjoy driving. Like, I enjoyed that. It was like a good place for me to zen. It's actually one of the things I miss the most.
Oh yeah.
Like, just getting on the road and driving for 3-4 hours or 8 hours or 2 days, and you get it gives you like a bit of perspective.
Yeah.
It gives me a bit of perspective. And then going to a show with someone you never met before, and you got like that teamwork of you and like you're the only two people that matter, because like it's us versus them.
Yeah.
And yeah, like there's so many benefits to it, like the friendships that are worth it. But there's also those shows that get sprinkled on, and
Absolutely.
yeah, so it's not all bad, but also it's like, if you want to learn math, like learn math and be able to accept a hug,
Yeah.
yeah. Because after like 3 years, I realized this wasn't therapy, so I still had to go get help. And that's the thing about self-influence. It's like, oh, this familiarity isn't the same as intimacy. Maybe I should work on this. And then,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, and you mentioned it. They're not all hell cakes. There are a lot of good ones. And so now what I'd like you to do is tell me about that one show or maybe a couple where you just felt on top of the world, where you knew, your absolute best experience doing comedy.
See, that's worse for me, because whenever I do really good, that's when I really crash out, right? When like you get the hugs and the credits, you know what I mean? When it's like everything's good, your first love tells you she loved you all along, like those shows. You crash out for 3 days. I did that in New Mexico with my dad and stepmom. I got to do a show and it went really well, and I just killed it. And everyone was there and everyone gave me all this love, and then I was just in a puddle for 3 days. The the best experience I had. Because like, it's not that it's all the same. I've kind of learned to just kind of have it like, this is just what it is. If you have a bad show, it's a bad show, right? I'm working on a craft. It isn't necessarily, that's a consequence, not a reflection,
right,
of what's going on. My best thing I did, it's called a mention of the clubs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
absolutely.
So I did Acme Comedy, funniest amateur comic, funniest person in Twin Cities, whatever it is. And so the deal was you couldn't be a comic that got paid, so I was brand new. And I go up there and I tell my joke. I do 3 minutes, and I get my first applause break, like ever. Yeah, because there was more than 12 people, and it just got hit. And I'm like, this is what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life. Right? Like that was the thing. It was like that. Like it wasn't love. But it was just like whatever that was, whatever that vibe, whatever that water that hit me was just like, yep, this is it. Simple as that, right?
It is.
And and that's the thing, man. Like I don't know if any show, like I don't know what show is going to be my swan song show. I don't think anyone has that.
Right.
But like I know that part where it was just like, yeah, this is who I am. It took me a while to like. It's like in a relationship, you either say you're like in a relationship way too soon or way too late. Mm-hmm. It took me a long time to like tell people, because like I had like a career before this. My big thing about self-honesty is I'm just more honest about more stuff, like the fact that I'm a nerd, the fact that my family is eclectic, all that stuff.
Well, as you get older, that always changes. It's always ever changing.
Yeah.
Because I started late in life compared to everybody else. And, so some of the stuff that I say really relates to the people at the casinos because they're all older than me.
Right. Which I think is cooler. Like when I was 24, I didn't get as much love from experience as I would at 34. You know what I mean? I think there's something to be said for that.
Absolutely. Okay, let me catch up a little bit here. Ron Lamprecht. Hello, Ron. Good to see you. Drive to Oklahoma, do the show, turn around and come home.
Yep. Border of Texas.
That is a hell of a drive right there.
Yeah. Went to the hotel for 20 minutes.
Carol Lynn. Hello in Kenosha. Ken Osmond. Eddie Haskell passed away. Well, that's too bad. There's a lot of people that are getting older and dying. It seems weird in this pandemic time because I know not everybody's dying from that, but
a lot of people, just like Fred Willard just passed, rest in peace.
Yeah. Fred Willard was awesome.
Yeah.
Would we want that swan song show? Well,
no, not at all, Jenny.
Nope. And she also says, I get up the next morning.
Exactly.
Uh,
No, that's exactly it.
that's it.
That's like I talked about when the credits rolling. If I had a show like that, it would have been the one with my dad because he was sick. He passed a couple years ago, but I got to like set up a show where he could see it. Like
Mm,
I did two shows. One was hell. It was like noon outside. It was terrible to get this out, and I got this other show that he got to see, and and like it wasn't like day changing, but it was like a chapter ending story that my dad got
gotcha.
to see me do that last show. Um, so like yeah, it's like what like if I had a show that I would probably think about forever, it'll be that one. But the person I am is so fundamentally changed at this point. It's like albums, right? Like if you listen to an album from 10 years ago, if the comic isn't growing, I feel terrible for that comic. If
Absolutely.
a person
Uh,
isn't growing.
or the other part of that is, and I've mentioned this on the show before. If you find a formula and it makes you a living, I
Yeah,
mean, is it my cup of tea? No, but certainly make a living.
right.
Um, and Larry the Cable Guy you mentioned, just about all the guys on the Blue Collar tour.
Yeah.
But one of my favorite stories was about Angus Young from AC/DC being interviewed, and the reporter thought he was really going to zing him, and he says, "Don't you feel ashamed of yourself that you've tried to hoist the same album on record buyers 12 times?" And Angus Young says, "Just to correct you, it's 13."
Right, right. Well,
Who cares?
that's
It's
also
in
the thing. We don't pick how we're going to be famous.
exactly.
You know, what I mean, we don't get picked how we're going to get known. And like, there's a thing to that. Like, because like I don't necessarily like Metallica, but I have a lot of friends that did and now don't,
Yeah,
or that don't and now do. Whatever. People's change. But the one thing about them is that they don't care. They would try really weird stuff. Like they did like an orchestra thing. They're like, we're going to do stuff with techno. And they're like,
yeah,
no one wants that. They go, yeah, we don't care what you want. We're just going to do what we want to do. And
right.
then there's like Alice Cooper, who is like 60 years old. He's still dressed up in the makeup, but he's very aware of it. You know, he's
Yeah,
aware of it. But to a kid, like if I saw Mark Hamill Mark Hamill like in Luke Skywalker gear, I still go like, ooh, you know what I mean? Like it's a weird balance, right? Like
yeah.
my favorite comic ever is Wendy Liebman, right? She's
Oh, yeah.
and so if you don't know her, she's great. Her style is so great. Like she's just like real zingy. Look her up. Trust me, it's worth it. And I got to do a guest set for her once, and I'm like, this is exciting. Like I had this built up in my head. Like I'm like, I get to meet one of the people that really push me towards this. And for her, it's like, oh, this is some Steven Seagal looking dude, right? And like it's a weird balance, right? Where
Yeah,
it's like living up to the persona to how people know you.
absolutely.
And yeah,
Thank you,
yeah,
Nathan. Thank
kind
you
of.
very much for watching. We appreciate it very much. Ida, we try. Do we
Yeah.
always succeed? No, but
I'm
we
glad you're
certainly
doing
try.
well, Ida. It was great. By the way, everyone who'd like send a message, Jenny, Ron, thank you so much. I miss you guys. I hope you're all
We
doing well. I know this is tough, like in real life. I hope you're all doing well. And if you're keeping in contact with people, because this is a tough
uh,
time. It's a tough time.
it really is, and it is for a lot of people. And as I like to say towards the end of the show, we've been at this for over an hour. Does it seem like an hour to you?
Not at all, brother.
I know it's fun. I mean, I enjoy it. It's
Yeah.
just so much fun to be able to talk with people that I really enjoy talking to.
Yeah. And I miss
And
Goonies, by the way. I love you guys. Please support
well,
them as well. Yeah.
absolutely. I like to remind people, if you're looking through your Facebook feed or your YouTube feed or your Twitter feed or your Twitch, wherever it is that somebody's streaming something, watch it. Please watch it. Stop, like it, watch it for a little bit. You don't have to watch the whole thing if it's not your cup of tea. But everybody's having a hard time. People are trying to get some connection, particularly creative people. So please do that. Watch, and you're a star in my book when you do that. Here, we'll pop that up. There's Jenny saying, "Good to see you." By the way, Jenny was at that first open mic I was at the
Yeah.
Red Raven, I believe, too.
Yeah. She's one of those people where it's like she's very funny. She's a great singer. She's just
Yeah,
it's like it's weird when you be like North Dakota had that. We just meet people that are so talented. Like I kind of can tell jokes, and she's like great at everything. Like it's insane.
Absolutely.
It's insane. She's a fantastic.
Absolutely. All right, folks. Tomorrow, the bitter baker herself, Tiffany Norton, will be with me at 1:00. That's going to be a lot of fun. I haven't got to talk with Tiffany in a while. You may know her from KS95 here in the Twin Cities, or her bitter baker, which is absolutely hilarious. On Wednesday, I have Willie Farrell. Now, here's an interesting thing. Willie Farrell we already mentioned him during the show, but Willie Farrell was out in Las Vegas as all the corona stuff was it. He actually caught the coronavirus, and he has a story to tell about it, and you're really going to want to hear this. I've got to talk with him briefly about it. He's willing to share it. So that's going to be on Wednesday. Please and tell people because it's when people say, "Oh, I don't know one person that's got coronavirus." I'm going to be interviewing a guy that actually had it and had to go through the whole thing. So that'll be very interesting. Then on Thursday, Peggy Miller will be with me. And on Friday, we're going to have a little bit of fun. Here's another thing. I think what we're going to try to do with some of my old radio buddies is I think we're going to try to play the match game. I don't know if we're going to do it Thursday night or Friday night. I don't know when we're going to do it. I got to see when they're available. We're going to try to do it. And we're going to try to break every copyright law that we can. We're going to get copyright flagged for sure. But we don't care because it's going to be fun. We're going to have fun. Will, thank you again for taking the time to talk with me. I appreciate it so much, buddy.
My pleasure, my friend. It was good seeing you. Good seeing everyone talk to everybody.
All right, buddy. Take care. And for all of you that are out there, we will see you tomorrow at 1:00. Bye-bye.